What's up, everybody, and Happy New Year. It's 2025. You made it. Congratulations. And here is to a solid, a great, a stupendous 365, I almost said 24 days, but nope, 365 days, last I checked, is how long the calendar goes. 2024 was up and down for Remember the Game was great. For me, it was kind of up and down, but I'm excited for a fresh start, a fresh year. We're off to the races. I know there's no Remember the Game this week, and we are probably going to stick with the theme this year of not publishing on the first Wednesday of every month and giving you something from our archives instead. Just makes it a lot easier on me to catch up on games and set up times to record them with my friends so you can listen and blah, you know how it works. But we will be back next week. We're off to the races next week with a whole new year of Remember the Game episodes. But that's then, this is now. And for this week, I thought I'd give you a listen to the first episode of Expansion Pass that we dropped last year. This episode went live on January 3rd of 2024, and I count down my top 10 favorite arcade games. We get a lot of requests to cover arcade games here on Remember the Game, and I'm a big arcade game guy. I don't know if there's enough meat on the bone on a lot of them to give you like a full podcast. It could be a little tough. Although that said, it's like we always say, if we were able to do a full hour on Duck Hunt and like, well, Tetris is a little easier, but whatever. We've made some pretty thin games stretch for a pretty long time. That said, this week I'm just going to count down my top 10. You're going to listen, and I hope you enjoy this blast of nostalgia as we talk about old arcade games. We will be back next week with Remember the Game 319, which will probably finally be the Mega Man Battle Network episode. I hope you all had a great new year. I hope you got home safe. If you're listening to this, that seems to have been what happened. Thank you for all the support in 2024. Thank you for your patience for the last month, because I know I haven't been around, and I'm excited to get back to work and talk about some more old video games with you this year. Enjoy the podcast, everybody. Happy New Year. Let's go. That's calming. I needed that. I've had a fucking morning. If you're not watching this podcast stream live, my goddamn car will start this morning. My computer's farting me around. I'm running late. And frankly, I'm in a bit of a fucking irritated mood. So a little bubble bobble music to help soothe his nerves. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 193rd edition of Remember the Game Expansion Pass. It is one of our Patreon exclusive weekly podcasts here at Remember the Game Industries. My name is Adam Blank, and if you're hearing this, watching this, or checking this out live on a stream, you support us on the old Patreon box. And if that is the case, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, because you're probably about to pay for a new alternator in my fucking car. So I appreciate first world problems, but frustrating first world problems. So thank you all very, very much for fixing my vehicle. I appreciate it. And this week, we're sneaking December's Patreon topic poll in. If you don't know, normally I dedicate the final expansion pass of the month to our Patreons to decide what our topic is going to be. But I obviously used last week of December for our Sega Genesis draft. So we moved your power play back a period, and we're kicking off 2024 by letting the Patreons decide what we talk about. There were some great options this week, but Adam's top 10 arcade games squeaked out a W in the poll, so that is what we are expansioning about this week. I will say, growing up, I didn't live near an arcade. I lived in, I don't know if it's considered this, I don't know if this term is used in the States and in other countries, but I grew up in a PMQ, which is like the military housing, being an Army brat, and we did not have an arcade in my PMQ, and I was not allowed to leave our PMQ for most of the time. And then even when I was, it's not like there was an arcade anywhere near my fucking house. So there was a store near my house that had a couple of arcade cabinets. Two of those games are going to make an appearance on this list. I didn't get to play them a ton. So every time I saw an arcade cabinet in the wild growing up, it didn't matter what game it was. I got excited and I was begging my mom for quarters. Did not matter. And quite honestly, I still do that to this day. Not those multi-cabinets you see everywhere with tons of games in them, but like if I come across an authentic 3,000-pound retro arcade cabinet, it really doesn't even matter what the game is. I get all wound up and I beg Shaylee for some change. So I love arcade games, even if I don't have a ton of experience in actual arcades. And honestly, getting this list down to 10 was not easy. Some of you are going to be upset by some of the games that are in the honorable mentions, but you know, that's what makes for a good podcast. And it's my job to get it down to 10, so that's what I did. It's a good old-fashioned ranking episode this week. By gar, it's been a while. And of course, I have a billion of your comments to pick from as well. Seriously, we had just under 150 comments, which is wild when you consider that I had the comments thread up for like 36 hours. So fuck me. People want to talk arcade cabinets. So we're going to do all that in just a second because, as you know, part of your Patreon perk is a peek past the podcast. So if you want to grab your quarters, mash those buttons, and play with your joystick. Is that what it's called on an arcade cabinet? That little nub? Is it a joystick? I don't know. I'm going to call it the nub. Go and play with your nub. And I'll tell you what's been going on around here over the last week or two. First and foremost, I'm glad that so many of you enjoyed our Sega Genesis draft that went live last week on Expansion Pass. For those of you that yelled at us because we didn't pick your favorite game, well, it's probably because your favorite game wasn't good enough to make the top 40. Don't sue me. And congratulations to stupid Andre, who fucking ran away with the poll, quite frankly. There was 4 of us that drafted, so everyone had 4 teams to vote for, and Andre got almost 50% of the vote. It was fucking wild. So he has sent me a statement and said, to everyone who voted for me, your tastes are impeccable, and to those who didn't, you're okay, I guess. To my opponents in this draft, this was a blast. Thank you for such a fun time. So as your winner, I will be donating $50 to each of your worthy charities. If you don't know, remember the game is donating $100 to the charity of the winner's choice. Andre has graciously offered to donate some money to the charities as well. Very cool of him. Thank you, Andre. Congratulations on your goddamn win, you son of a bitch. That was fun. And because I know now that the Genesis draft is done, I'm going to be getting asked. Yes, I promise you from the bottom of my clogged, stressed out heart, we will be doing more drafts in 2024. I don't know what yet. I've been getting asked yet what's going to be the next draft. I'll be honest, we're probably going to do 2. I like to space them out to like 1 every 6 months or so. And I would guess 2 of the Nintendo 64, PS1, and Game Boy Color will probably get the nods. I don't know. Listen, when I said this the other day, people were like, what are you talking about? I'm not convinced that there's a good enough Game Boy lineup there for 40 picks, but especially like, I mean, maybe if you're separating like Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue and Pokemon, but like, I'm not convinced of that. Maybe there is, maybe I have to think about it. I honestly haven't put any time into thinking about it. So I've gotten messages. I hear you. Maybe I frankly just think the Nintendo 64 and PS1 would make for more fun drafts. But I don't know. We will do more this year. I haven't given it any thought yet. The next one will probably be sometime this summer. All right? But they are coming. Speaking of upcoming episodes, if you've not yet voted on the Blankies, I highly encourage you to do so. You can find the link on Patreon or at rememberthegamepodcast.com. You don't have to sign up, enter an email, fucking anything. It takes like 2 seconds to get in there and place your votes. And I will say, I was just posting in the Discord, there's a couple of, one category, the first and second place games are separated by, what is it here? I just had it. 2 of them are very close. Very, like, ridiculously close, considering there's, like, almost 700 votes cast. There's one where the first and second games are separated by 12 votes. There's another one where they're separated by 9 votes. And I will say the biggest lead, one game is winning its category right now by 430 votes. So I think one of them is safe. But the rest of them are very close, including Game of the Year. It's a 3-horse race. And it's very, very close. So I'm very interested to see how that comes out. So don't forget to vote at rememberthegamepodcast.com. You got to get your votes in probably by this weekend. Because if you don't know, the Blankies will be going live on Thursday, January 18th for Expansion Pass. I'm going to be away on vacation that week, so I'll be pre-recording Purple Monkey Dishwasher, The Rambling Idiot, Remember the Game, and the Blankies Expansion Pass for that week. There won't be a game patch for the week of the 13th to the 18th or whatever that week is. And I'll probably be recording the Blankies next week. So the ballots will be closing this weekend, so get in there to vote. And I don't really know what else to tell you. It's been part of the course around here. Lots of podcasts, lots of Twitch streams. If you haven't done it, I'm really going to be pushing that this year. I'm not telling you to go and subscribe. If you want to subscribe, I'll take one. But don't go and subscribe. You just follow. It's free. Go there, click the button. It'll tell you when I'm online. You can come by and see my dumb face. It's good times. Twitch.tv/rememberthegame. I will start posting a schedule beginning next week. I just haven't had time this week. I got a lot going on. And I think that's it. Lots of great episodes of the show coming up. If you're curious about Remember the Game, we just did Mega Man 9. Next week is probably going to be Jack and Daxter. The week after that, hopefully, is going to be Batman Arkham Asylum. And then I believe we're actually going to be talking about an arcade game from this list on January 24th for Remember the Game 283. I also need to get to Golden Sun, which won last month's Patreon poll. I still have Lufia 2. I still don't know how to fucking to say that. Left over from the sponsored episode backlog. The 2 people that tied for the highest bid in my 24-hour stream in November have their episodes upcoming, so we'll be lining those up soon. And Remember the Game number 300 is only a few months away. Holy shnikes. So I'm feeling pretty good. about this stupid show. Lots to do. Anyways, let's go to the arcade. That's why you're here. I'm going to cue up some arcade music. It's quiet to start, but it's going to pick up. And when it stops, I'll count down my personal 10 favorite arcade games of all time. Enjoy the podcast, everybody. Let's go. If anyone doesn't know, that is from Killer Instinct. And if you're wondering, no, Killer Instinct did not make my list of 10 favorite arcade games of all time, despite the fact that I quite like Killer Instinct. And now there's a couple of rules that I got to get out of the way here before we get into things so everyone's not yelling at me about why their game is not on my list, okay? Number one, I'm only picking from arcade games I've actually played on the arcade cabinets. There's a couple of great arcade games. I love Paperboy. You can find that episode in Remember the Game archives, but I've never played the arcade cabinet of it. I'm a big NBA Jam fan now. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I've never played the arcade cabinet of it now. Dish wrote in and said NBA Jam is my favorite. So many games coming down to the final seconds against my older brother. I remember losing a game on one of those last second heaves and it was devastating. Quite frankly, I would love to get my hands... I can't believe I would have never said this a year ago, but now that I've played NBA Jam, an NBA Jam arcade 1-up cabinet has climbed to the number one spot on my I would like to get that arcade 1-up cabinet rankings. Number one is an NBA Jam cabinet, now that I've got my Precious Becky. And if you don't know who Becky is, you'll find out later in this episode. But so I'm only ranking my 10 favorite arcade cabinets that I've played. So no Nintendo ports. It's got to be an actual game I've played on an arcade cabinet, all right? Number two, I'm not ranking the 10 greatest arcade games of all time. These are my 10 favorite arcade games of all time. There is a massive difference. If you were counting down the 10 greatest arcade games of all time, Space Invaders is a lock to be on that list. I'm going to say that I think Space Invaders is boring as fuck. I respect its legacy, but it's boring as fuck. There's no way it's getting even a sniff in my top 10 list, all right? So these are my 10 favorites that I've actually played at a cabinet, all right? 1/4, everybody knows the rules, all right? All right. 142 comments as of the time I went to write my notes. That might be a record. So I also want to just say quickly, holy fuck, I hear you. We have a bunch of arcade fans in our lasses. I will cover more arcade games this year. I promise. Like I said, we're actually going to be covering one of the 10 games on my list later this month. All right? I hear you. I get there's arcade fans. We're going to cover more arcade games. I have to drop my honorable mentions before I get in my official top 10. As always, X-Men, the arcade beat 'em up. X-Men, the 6-player, the awesome cabinet, made my list of honorable mentions. And listen, I think X-Men is a sick looking cabinet. I think it's an awesome looking game. I think it's a very fun beat 'em up. It probably would have made my top 10 list had I played it more, but I think I've only ever played that cabinet once or twice in my entire life. So the only thing hurting it from making my top 10 was I just don't have a lot of experience with it. A ton of you wrote in about that cabinet. Don't Win Friends with Sal and said, I remember the theater in my hometown had the huge 6-player X-Men cabinet, and every time we'd go to the movies, we'd all get together and play. Unreal at the time, and probably the first multiplayer experience that involved more than 2 players that I had. 6 people at once? Now you can play online games with 100. Those were simpler times. Agreed. That was a novelty thing. Even like the Turtles cabinets, which might be making an appearance on this list. Having 4 people stand at that cabinet at once and play was a big fucking deal, right? Much less 6. That's mind-boggling. Johnny from Virginia said, hands down, X-Men is the greatest arcade of all time. I played as Nightcrawler, doing flip kicks and clearing entire screens with awesome teleportation attacks. It was awesome. Yeah, X-Men was great. Honorable mention. I couldn't put it in my top 10. Dig Dug made my honorable mention. And you know why it didn't make my top 10? Because just quite frankly, I think Dig Dug 2 is a vastly superior game. I don't know if that's a hot take. If you've never played them, in Dig Dug 1, that's the one where you're underground and you're digging holes and like blowing up the enemies with your pump. And in Dig Dug 2, you're on like tropical islands and you can blow them up with your pump, or you can like drill into the ground and cut off chunks of the island. And whenever you cut off a complete chunk of an island, the smaller portion falls into the water, and any enemies that are on it fall into the water as well. But if you're on it, then you fall into the water. And I've never played Dig Dug 2 on a cabinet. I don't even know if it's got an arcade. I played it on the NES. I do like Dig Dug 1, but Dig Dug 2 is just a better game. So honorable mention. Frogger is an honorable mention. Truth be told, I used to play Frogger a lot as a kid, and I hated it until I saw George Costanza play it. I remember there was a Frogger cabinet near my mom's work when I was little, and so she would give me a quarter and let me go play, just, shut me up for 2 minutes. But it's a hard fucking game, and I never really understood it. But then once I saw George Costanza play it, I was like, oh my God, this is sick. And now I love Frogger. So it made honorable mention. Ron Hakubi said, I'll always have a special place in my heart for Frogger. When I was little, every now and then my parents would take me to Showbiz Pizza, now known as Chuck E. Cheese, and there was a little Frogger mini cabinet that was always my gotta play game. Also, shout out to TMNT. Oh, we'll get to TMNT. But yeah, Frogger is an honorable mention. Those giant Mario Kart arcade cabinets that they have at like the Palladiums and the Rec Rooms and whatever your adult arcades are where you are now, those get an honorable mention because they're a lot of fun. You can play them with like 4 people or whatever the fuck with your friends, and you use your own like face as your avatar. But like I always take Wario's like hat and shit, but put my face in it. And like it's a fun time with your friends once, but it's just not a very good Mario. It's the weakest Mario Kart experience. Mario Kart Go's console versions, followed by Mario Kart Go at a distant second, followed by the arcade one. But for a one-off with your friends, that Mario Kart cab's a really good time. And we play it every time we go to one of those places. So that's an honorable mention. And then Roger Russell wrote in and said, if it counts, I'm a big fan of the basketball shooting game. 6 balls in a hoop, get a few others to compete against, fun times. If it has to be a video cabinet, then WWF Superstars. For the record, I don't know if those basketball cabinets count, and they're not going to make my list anyways because I'm so bad at those, I refuse to play them. I think in my entire life, I've made 5 baskets in basketball. There is nothing. I'll play Elden Ring on hard mode with my good eye closed and one hand. I will go to Evo and try to compete in a Street Fighter tournament before you will get me out on a basketball court to play basketball with you. Nothing has ever made less sense to me in my life than the ability to play basketball. I am the most uncoordinated piece of shit you've ever seen try to play that game. But if they don't count, then you mentioned WWF Superstars. My last honorable mention, and the game that just missed my cut, I slid it in at number 11 reluctantly, is WWF WrestleFest. Not Superstars, WrestleFest. Lil Bunny Fufu 89 wrote in and said, WWF WrestleFest. Back in the 90s, this was the best playing and best looking wrestling game available until the SmackDown and 64 games. Plus, the roster is a great golden era WWF nostalgia trip today. I play this every time I saw it. Also, searching to see if anyone had done a podcast on this game is how I found your show 4 years ago. So, bonus points for that. Yeah, WWF WrestleFest is good fucking times. Frankly, the only reason I didn't sneak it into my top 10 is because I would just rather play like the console wrestling games. And you mentioned it. And I know that that's like a cop-out thing, but I had to cut. It was either this or the game that actually got into my list at number 10. And I was like, well, I've never played the game that came in at number 10 anywhere else, but I've played just about every wrestling game ever made, and I would rather play those. So WrestleFest is good times. Very, very close honorable mention at number 11. All right. This is an ad by BetterHelp. A band once said, work sucks, I know. And I think most people agree with them. Workplace stress is now one of the top causes of declining mental health, with 61% of the global workforce experiencing higher than normal levels of stress from their jobs. And while walking away from your job might not be an option, taking a little time every day to focus on yourself and your mental health can make a huge difference. I know in the summer I try to get outside every day, get a little bit of sun, and just enjoy the outdoors. It really helps. At least until my allergies attack, and then it's ugly. It's important to take steps to combat work stress, and therapy can be a huge one. It's not just for overcoming trauma. Therapy can help you define work goals, set some work boundaries, develop coping skills. It's like a cheat code for life. And if you're thinking, man, I'm too busy for therapy, well, look into BetterHelp. They make therapy as convenient as possible. You can meet with one of their over 30,000 therapists online and on your schedule, just like over 5 million people around the world already have done. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/rememberthegame. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. We've had some great partners over the years here at Remember the Game, but I don't know if any of them have hit home for me quite like Hometown Hero does. No pun intended. Don't start. It's a transparent, honest cannabis company that helps people and gives back to those that have served their country at the same time. I mean, come on. As soon as I read about these guys, I knew I wanted to work with them. Hometown Hero is a cannabis company out of Austin, Texas, and they were founded back in 2015 by a U.S. veteran. They have two goals: create premium hemp products that can help everyone, and to support veterans by donating a portion of those profits to organizations set up to take care of those who've served. Hometown Hero products are of the highest quality, and everything they offer is made right there in the US of A. Gummies, caramels, chocolates, drink mix, there's something for everyone. And what's more, their hemp is grown locally in Texas, which is something they should and do take a lot of pride in. And they offer certificates of analysis for everything they sell, because they want to be clear that their products are as advertised, both in terms of potency and ingredients. No contaminants, you get what you pay for. Just how they conduct business is enough to get my good eyes' attention, but when you circle back to the fact that the company was founded by a veteran and they put such heavy emphasis on supporting veterans, this isn't just lip service. I'm not reading a script I was given here. I'm proud to have Hometown Hero associated with Remember the Game. Reclaim your evening. Visit hometownhero.com and use code RTG to take 20% off your first purchase. That's hometownhero.com, code RTG for 20% off your first purchase. Oh, one more before we get into the top 10. Maverick, whose suggestion this was for a topic, wrote in and said, do pinball machines count? If so, Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park pinball. My brother and I got sent to summer camp one year. Man, these machines just robbed every last quarter we had. The sounds, the flashing lights, the mini games when you sunk a ball, the revolver you held to launch your ball. I love modern gaming, but you just can't emulate those times. I will say that I no pinball games made my list, but I'll say they count. Sure. I've never been the biggest pinball fan. I'm just really bad at it, but I'm always, every time I walk by it, like if I see a Mario, a Ghostbusters, a Ninja Turtles, a Rocky, Sopranos, if I see a pinball cabinet, is that what they're called? Cabinets? Machine, I guess pinball machines. If I see a pinball machine based on any IP that I even remotely like, I have to put some money in and play it, even though I'm so bad at it. And half the time I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just mashing those two paddles, and when the ball goes back up, I'm like a little kid just staring at the flashing lights, just seeing what happens. But I'll show some love to pinball, even though I suck at it. It's good times. Okay. Let's get into this. This is my official top 10. Those were all the games that got cut reluctantly. I don't think any of you are going to recognize the music from number 10 or number 9. After this, then we're probably off to the races and you're going to know the rest of them. Number 9, at least I bet you some of you have heard of. I don't know if anyone's even heard of number 10, but I have. I love this game. I actually had to Google it to get the name right. So let's play the music that no one's going to understand. The number 10 game on my 10 favorite arcade games of all time. That's such happy music. It's called Super Buster Bros. I don't know. Did anyone ever play that? I can't remember if it was Super Buster Bros or just Buster Bros. I know that most of you probably don't even know what it is. I think it was, what was it known as in Japan? Pang or something like that. Basically, you play as like this little guy and you've got like this, you have to like pop bubble like balloons, like giant circles that come out above you. You like, it's a shoot 'em up, but you're shooting straight up. And you have to shoot up at these balloons, these red, like circles. But then when you pop them, they form smaller balloons. And then when you pop them, they make smaller balloons. And they're popping. And as they're bouncing around, and as they're popping, they're dropping power-ups that might give you like 2 beams instead of 1, or a more powerful beam, or whatever the fuck. And you could play a 2-player, and it was just running back and forth on the screen, trying to not get hit by these things while they were falling on you while you had to blow them up. And when I lived in that PMQ in Calgary, my mom worked on another PMQ in Calgary that had a much bigger store in it than ours did, and that store had a couple of arcade cabinets in it, and one of them was this Buster Bros game. And I don't know if it was the fact that it said Bros and I was like Super Mario Bros. I don't know if it was the bright colors of those balloons, but little Adam and frankly little Josh couldn't resist. And so every time we got to go see my mom at work, we begged for a couple of quarters that we couldn't even get through the first level of, to go and pop into that Buster Bros cabinet to fart around with it. So I don't know if a single one of you know it other than me. And like, honestly, if I just wanted to make for a better podcast, I probably would have left it off my list and put WWF WrestleFest in at 10, just because I know that more people have probably played that than Buster Bros. But nay, Buster Bros was fucking awesome. And I feel like it's that girl that I had a crush on like one weekend, that I met when I was like camping with my family and then I never saw her again. That's Buster Bros. I don't know it very well, but I have some great memories of that fucking game. So, and speaking of cabinets that people have never heard of, I thought I'd sneak a few of yours in right now. A ton of you wrote in about cabinets that I have never fucking heard of. I have no idea what these cabinets are, but I don't want to just ignore the comments based on things that I don't know what they are. So I'm going to read some of your comments about cabinets that I don't know and then just make it up if you don't explain what they are. And by the way, a lot of you wrote in, when I say what's your favorite arcade game and you write in with like 9, you're cheating. And I read some of them this week, but it's only because you managed to keep it short. You didn't write a paragraph about each. You wrote like 3 sentences and just listed off like 5 cabinets, but it's still cheating. Roto Baggins said, "Oh man, what a great topic for the podcast. My favorites of the classics to play is Tapper. I also love Wizard of War, but that's because the vibes are immaculate. Lastly, for an underrated dark horse, I recommend checking out Black Tiger. Feels a lot like Castlevania, but with more platforming." Now, okay, so Black Tiger is Castlevania, but with more platforming. I have to say, Castlevania with an arcade stick sounds fucking torturous, but I'm willing to give you the point. I have never heard of Tapper, and I've never heard of Wizard of War. So I'm going to assume that Tapper involves drums, of like your tap, 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 tap. Like it's a rhythm-based game. And for the record, please don't, because I'm going to get like 400 messages otherwise. You don't have to send me messages explaining what these games are. I'm not going to remember. I'm just saying that, like, you know what I'll do? Instead of making up what I think they are, I'll Google them right here on the show. That way, I don't get, like, because otherwise, I get, like, I don't just get one, I'll get, like, 20 messages being like, you don't know what Tapper is? Tapper. Oh, Tapper! The one with the beer, where you're serving the booze. I've actually played this before. Oh! It's not going to make my top 10. But, yeah, you're the bartender, and you're, like, slinging drinks along the long bars. Okay, yeah, Tapper. All right. I'll give an honorable mention to Tapper. Tapper's good times. And then what was the other one? Wizard of War. Wizard of War. But it's W-O-R, not W-A-R. Wizard of War is an arcade video game released in 1981. Up to 2 players fight together in a series of monster-infested mazes, clearing each maze by shooting the creatures. All right, it looks pretty archaic, but it looks kind of neat. All right. I've never heard of that one, but all right. It's got a cool poster. I'll give it that. Holmes wrote in and said, King of Dragons has to be the arcade game I played and loved the most back in the day. I never beat it in the arcade, but when it got ported to the SNES, I raged on it until I got good and finally slayed that dragon. Recently picked the game up in a Capcom collection on the Switch and played through it with my kids, with infinite lives, of course, and had a blast. Timeless classic of a game. I've never heard of that one either. King of Dragons. Let's see. King of Dragons. A 1991 beat-em-up by Capcom that followed players as they control characters through the Kingdom of Malice to defeat monsters led by the dragon Gildis. That's a stupid name. It featured a level advanced system allowing character attributes to be upgraded as players progress through the game. That looks like a Sega Genesis. That looks like a classic, like, Altered Beast Golden Axe type beat-em-up, but it's from Capcom. All right. That looks neat. I'll give you that, Holmes. All right. Works for me. Says you may have to Google this one, but it's called Ice Cold Beer. It's a mechanical arcade game where you need to use 2 joysticks to raise and lower a bar and guide a metal bull into a numbered hole. I'm sure I'm butchering the description, so hopefully Adam can do a better job explaining it. I like the idea of steering the bull into the hole. Ice Cold Beer. Mechanical arcade game. No, I can't. The Wikipedia page is lacking, and it looks like a beehive. So I'm going to stick with your description on that one. Works for me. I'm not sure what that is. But yes, Ice Cold Beer. Why not? Works. Or Sleeper Hit said favorite has to be Dungeons and Dragons Shadow over Mystera. You have lots of characters, cinematic spells, and a dragon boss. Can't ask for more. Dungeons and Dragons Mystera. Is that what it's called? Oh, Shadow over Mystera. Holy fuck, there's a lot of Wikipedia pages for Dungeons and Dragons. Holy fuck, that looks like a goddamn fucking RPG. That's an arcade game? It was developed by Capcom in 96. Like, it kind of looks like Altered Beast again, but there's all these, like, icons at the bottom that's giving me Baldur's Gate fucking flashbacks, right? I don't know what the hell's going on, so. All right, that is the nerdiest arcade cabinet I've ever seen. Sleeper Hit, fair enough. Old 8-bit dad said, I'm going to shout this one from the mountaintops. Discs of Tron. End of line. Now, a bunch of you wrote in about Tron. I don't know what the fuck Tron is. Discs of Tron. I know it's like that weird thing where you're like made of like blue lines. Oh. So the Wikipedia page doesn't show me any gameplay either. It's just an arcade flyer of a man made of blue. So, all right, yeah, fair enough. If you like the color blue, I would think Discs of Tron would be quite good. And then one more, and then we'll move on to more games that I know. All right, I didn't want to ignore all of your suggestions about games I didn't know. Growlywog said it may be a bit of an off-the-board pick, but my choice goes to Capcom's Alien vs. Predator. You know what, Growlywog? After some of the games we just covered, that is not off the board at all. Growlywog says it was an incredible 4-player beat 'em up from the 1994, where you can choose from 2 predators and 2 cyborgs, including Schwarzenegger, and you battle your way through hordes of aliens, evil mercenaries, and even infected predators. The alien enemy and boss designs are so creative, and the gameplay feels so smooth and easy to jump into. Maybe it's blasphemy, but I put it ahead of any of the Simpsons, Turtles, or Marvel arcade classics. How it never got a proper home port blows my mind. I will say that maybe it didn't get a proper home port because it wasn't Simpsons, Turtles, or X-Men. Although Simpsons, what was it called? Capcom's Alien versus Predator. Ah, here it is. I was like, is there not even a fucking arcade page for it? Oh, Jesus, that looks fucking tight. That looks like like the graphics, if you're looking at it, it looks like Street Fighter, but there's a goddamn predator on the screen with a gun shooting a bunch of aliens. Fuck yeah. All right, I'm on board with this one. That looks fucking awesome. All right, good job. Okay, I got to get into more games that I actually know how to say something about. I'm going to get more back to my list. But there's your official shout out to some of the games that I didn't know. Because you were down there with mine at Buster Bros, okay? You might not recognize this music, but a bunch of you are going to know this game, and then you're going to know the rest of the games on my list after this. Number 9 on my list of my 10 favorite arcade games of all time. That's pretty well all the music. It just keeps repeating itself. It's Cable. And I'm sure some of you know Cable. I think it got ported to the NES. But my brother and I actually used to play this one all the time at that little convenience store on the PMQ we used to live on when we were kids. Had a Cable cabinet at one point. I'm positive. Because we used to play it a lot. My brother loves this fucking game. And what was cool about it is it was a Contra kind of style shooter. But instead of the side-scrolling, you know how in the original Contra, there's some levels where the camera's directly behind you and you're running up, like kind of into the screen, like running away from it? That's what Cable was. And you could hide behind various pieces of cover like walls and stuff like that and shoot at the enemies that came up. But I remember what was really cool about it was instead of moving with a joystick, you had one of those tracking balls like a golden tee, and you would spin that, and that's how you would run around and move. And I always found it so hard to use, but it was still so much fun to play with my brother, even though we couldn't get very far. And my brother was fucking obsessed with this game. It was ridiculous. Frankly, it was, and that comes from somebody that was obsessed with Mario, obsessed with Mario Kart, obsessed with Mega Man. I was obsessed with tons of games. He was so obsessed with that fucking Cable cart, that cabinet. We used to rent it on the NES too. I'm positive we did. But it's that fucking tracking ball. I don't remember ever playing another shooter where I had to move by spinning that fucking tracking ball. But that Cable cabinet, you did, and it was really. I mean, maybe it sucked. Maybe I'm looking at it with rose-colored glasses. But I remember just thinking that was so fucking cool. I'm looking at pictures of it right now. Oh, no, you didn't. Yeah, and you could maybe, I couldn't remember if you moved. Did you move your character by spinning that ball, or did you move the crosshairs by spinning? Each player uses a trackball to move their character from side to side and move the crosshairs about the screen. Maybe you had to do both then. I can't remember. I just remember you had to spin this like white tracking ball to move around, and you had these crosshairs that you would like. It was a really fun shooter. It was a fucking great shooter. Is it as good as Contra? Not even close. But it was a really, really fun game. Fuck, man. My brother and I used to play the shit out of Cable. So I don't know if any of you listening to this played or remember Cable, but if you did, gold star for you. Cable was a good fucking time. And frankly, it's the only one that made this list that specifically because of my memories of playing it with my brother. Specifically because of that. Most of the arcade cabinets that I've played, I didn't play a lot of them with my brother because I wanted to get away from him because he's my brother, and I'm an adult, or I was the older brother and he fucking annoyed me. But man, we had some good times together playing Cable back in the day. One of the rare instances as children where we put our differences aside and work together to save the world and fail horribly because that game was hard. As all arcade games are, because they're designed to eat your quarters. Matt D wrote in and said, Time Crisis. My buddy and I would always run into that cabinet when we saw it. Having the foot pedal for duck and cover shooting added a great layer to the gameplay. Always felt great with those light guns. I want to say it's House of the Dead or Living Dead or some shit. I've played quite a few of those light gun cabinets because they were in the movie theaters all the time, at least back in the day. But I can't name a specific one. Maybe there was one where you had to shoot dinosaurs. There was some where you had to shoot zombies. I've played quite a few of them, and none of them ever made like a lasting impression on me, but they were always a lot of fun. Always a lot of fun. Maybe I did play Time Crisis. I know Glocken2 wrote it and said, definitely House of the Dead for me. Spent all day on a school field trip playing this with a friend back in middle school. Went back a couple months later, and there we were still on top. It was a great memory, and I couldn't possibly pick a different arcade game. Shout out to Big Buck Hunter and Golden Tee, though, for keeping me entertained when my parents took me with them to the bar as a kid. What? You could take your kids to the bar where you are? That's, I didn't know that. Truth be told, I forgot Golden Tee. I don't think it would have made my top 10, but it would have been an honorable mention. So I'll throw it in right now as an honorable mention. House of the Dead, I'm positive, is the one that I've played the most. I'm positive. Like the jump scares where they'd pop up, those fucking, oh man, good times. Those are good times, especially after a few beers. Those light gun games are good fucking times. And Enter Soul, speaking of, this game is not a good time because I've never played it because I think I'd hurt myself. Enter Soul said Dance Dance Revolution. It helped me stay in shape when I was a mall rat and then a mall employee. Met some friends playing that machine that I still know and talk to today. I have nothing but admiration for people that are good at Dance Dance Revolution. Dude, has anyone ever not been captivated by walking by and seeing one or two people on a Dance Dance Revolution cabinet that are just... their feet are just a blur the way they're going, and I'm like, what the fuck? How many times have you played this that you know this? How on earth? I'm nothing but respect to high-end Dance Dance Revolution players, but I feel that that's a game that's past my time because I would hurt myself if I tried to play Dance Dance Revolution now. Shout out to those. Number 8. I feel like this is going to surprise some people on my list, and I gotta be honest. If I missed a comment, then I apologize, but I looked through the comments to see if anyone else had written in about this game, and I didn't see anyone else write in about this game, which shocks me, because if you look up any list of the greatest arcade cabinets of all time, this is going to be on there. So you should be shocked that it made my list, and I'm shocked that it didn't make more of yours. Number 8 on my list of my 10 favorite arcade cabinets of all time. Funny is Street Fighter 2, and Street Fighter 2 is funny for me because in Cold Lake I worked on the military base there, and there was a Street Fighter 2 cabinet I used to work at a Canix. I don't know if any of you know what that is, but it's like a little tiny Walmart for on the bases. And I don't know how many of them still exist, but they used to be around. And I used to work at the one in Cold Lake, and it was in a little kind of like a half-ass strip mall that had like my dentist was there, and there was like a bar in there and like a little restaurant, a liquor store and stuff. And there was a Street Fighter 2 cabinet. And so quite often when I was on my break at work at Canix, I would go out and drop a quarter into Street Fighter 2. I have never played a Street Fighter 2 cabinet against another player. I've always just played against the computer, and very, very rarely could I get more than 2 fights in, which quite frankly probably explains why I'm so scared of fighting games today, because that Street Fighter 2 cabinet is probably responsible for A, my admiration for high-end fighting game players, and B, my complete and utter fear of fighting games, because that was the one that showed me just how shitty I am at those games. But I kept going back to it, and I knew I was going to get my ass beat, but I'd still put another quarter in, and I would just pick a random character. I think E Honda was always the one I liked because he reminded me of Yokozuna, but I was never very good. But I always had a great time playing. And to this day, I think it's one of the best looking arcade games of all time. I could just watch people play Street Fighter 2 for maybe not hours. But if I'm walking by at a bar and I watch 2 people play Street Fighter 2, I will stop and watch the rest of that match play out. I just find it captivating to look at. Even just the yellow health bars across the top, like some of the backgrounds. I love the way it looks. I like Mortal Kombat better than Street Fighter. But Street Fighter 2 is easily my favorite fighting cabinet of all time. And I love watching people play it. So number 8 on my list, a surprise to some, was Street Fighter 2. And I can't believe that people didn't write in about it. Timmy the Exuberant Turtle wrote in and said it's not the flashiest game out there, but I have the fondest memories of Street Fighter Alpha 2. Is that the same? I don't think it is, but I don't know. There's so many Street Fighters, I don't fucking know. Timmy said, as a kid, it was super satisfying to plunk down a quarter and run through the competition of all ages. I was a king. Then the internet came along and ruined everything by showing me that I'm a king on the local scene, but only slightly above average globally. Ignorance was bliss. That's how I feel about Tetris. Tetris 99. And now the 13-year-old that's like the greatest Tetris player of all time. We'll get into that on Game Patch tomorrow. But anyway, Jigsaw said, I was a huge fighting game arcade player. My brothers and I spent a lot of quarters on the Marvel vs. Capcom cabinets. We customized our own quarters that were used to put on the cabinet to hold our place in line for our turn. When the game, entire crossover series really, was ported to the PlayStation, we purchased it and spent countless hours playing against family and friends, most of the time for Pokemon cards. But it all started with that cabinet. And Matt B wrote in and said, there's definitely a few that come to mind, especially playing in the Nathan's Arcade, but I gotta go with Marvel vs. Capcom. I would always play that game just because of all the characters that were in it, and even with all that time playing, I still had a minimal of idea of how to do all the special moves instead of just button mashing most of the time. And instead, I just button mashed most of the time. Yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom, I've never played it, but I've always thought they look so cool, especially the ones where you can pick like a team, and then you got to go with Spider-Man, Venom, and Mega Man. Oh, that's fucking hot. But I don't know if I've ever played one. Fighting games are just, you just heard, that's my origin story of my fear and admiration of fighting games. Right there. You just heard it on expansion pass number 193. You just got the inside dirt. Number 7. Now we're getting into some of the games that everybody knows. People were writing in about. This next one is one of the ones we got the most comments about. Number 7 on my list of my 10 favorite arcade cabinets of all time. You know it? Some of you know it. Some of you don't, but you should. Some of you know it. That's the Simpsons arcade game. It's the Simpsons. You knew the Simpsons arcade game was going to make a spot appearance on my list. And frankly, it seems a little bit blasphemous to have the Simpsons arcade game slotted in at number 7. But the problem is just that, like, A, there's a better beat 'em up that's coming up later on this list. And B, that game is so fucking hard, it's ridiculous. It is so fucking hard. And I know they're designed to take quarters, but you know how heartbreaking it was when little Adam, the diehard Simpsons fan, would go to Chuck E. Cheese for his birthday and get a bunch of tokens and pump them all into the Simpsons and the other beat 'em up cabinet that's coming up later that was also 4 players? Y'all know what it is. And I would lose all of my tokens and not get anywhere close to beating the game. At least that other one that's coming up later, I could get like semi-far in. Simpsons, I can never get past like the 3rd level, tops. I just got fucking decimated in that game. But I still love it. I still think it holds up as a good-looking, good-playing beat-em-up. When me and my friends are at a bar now and we see it, you know we're putting a couple of bucks and then everybody fights over not having to be Lisa and her stupid jump. Was it her jump rope or her saxophone? I think it was her jump rope. Homer was always the most sought after. But shout out to Marge. Yeah, the 40-year-old gamer wrote in and said, hands down, the Simpsons arcade game. When I was a 10-year-old gamer, I'd go to the bowling alley with my dad and use all my allowance to play this game. I was lucky enough to actually beat it with 3 other people, and it probably cost me about $5, but we kept tossing in quarters, and eventually we took down Mr. Burns. Please give Marge the proper shout-out for kicking so much ass in that game with the vacuum cleaner. Marge is a beast with that vacuum cleaner. She's the Donatello of that game. But everybody always went for Homer. I still go for Homer. Just throwing fists. Just throwing hands. Getting these hands. Oh my God. I love the Simpsons arcade game. Adam Blank still hasn't reviewed Mario Teaches Typing. Fuck. Said, shout out to the Simpsons arcade game at the local pizza buffet. I never got past the first level boss, which was Krusty, if I remember right. Great looking, hard as balls game. No, if I'm not to correct you, not to be that like, oh, well, actually, but I'm pretty sure the first boss was the wrestler with the wrench. Wasn't it? I haven't played the Simpsons arcade game in years. Wasn't it Professor something or other with the wrench? I couldn't get much further than that, so I got you. It's such a stupid game, but we actually reviewed it on an episode of Remember the Game, so if you're interested, you can go back and find that one. It's a good game. Venom1438 said the Simpsons arcade game. When I was in middle school, there was a mall beside our school with a small arcade in it. The amount of quarters I dumped into that game during lunch and after school was unreasonable. A new arcade just opened up in town, and they acquired the Simpsons game from that old arcade. I can't wait to go dump some more money into it again. Yeah, it's a really fun game. It's just so obnoxiously designed to just take every penny you have. Even though all the beat 'em ups were like that, I don't know about any of you, I always found The Simpsons to be the toughest one. Maybe that's just me, but it doesn't matter because it was To this day, when you rank all the Simpsons games, that Simpsons arcade game shows up fairly high on the list. It's a pretty beloved arcade game, and it's a good fucking game. So shout out to the Simpsons arcade game. Number 6 on my list doesn't have nearly the pedigree that the Simpsons arcade game does. It's not nearly as flashy to look at. In fact, it only has one quick little song that I'm going to play that lasts for about 5 seconds, but haters going to hate. Number 6 on this list is an all-time classic. Oh, I can hear that. Like I could recite every tone, every note in that tune. It's Galaga. I love Galaga. Oh my God. Now, I played this mostly on the NES. When I was a kid, my dad came back from doing a tour with the military in Cambodia, and he brought us a 31-in-1 NES cartridge. It was one of those cool cartridges that was 2 pieces that went together, and one of the games on that 31-in-1 was Galaga, and we used to play that. My mom, one of the only games I remember my mom playing, would play Galaga religiously, and I fell in love with it. To this day, probably my favorite like shooting game like that. Wait, did I put something else on my list higher than this that does that? No. Galaga's probably my favorite like shooting game like that in an arcade. Just a high score, mash button shooting game. Like I think the reason I find Space Invaders so boring is because of Galaga. If you've never played it, it's a lot like Space Invaders. You just control a ship at the bottom of the screen. You move left to right, shoot a little pea shooter straight up at the top of the screen where there's a whole bunch of ships, but the ships are coming down and crashing at you, and some of them are shooting at you, and it's fucking awesome. The Supreme Chorizo wrote in and said Galaga, extremely addicting game, and I have an ongoing rivalry with some family members through it to this day. Yeah, I do have my own arcade cabinet here. I bought an arcade 1-up cabinet a while ago. Many of you know. If you don't know, I'm going to tell you what it is later in this list. But one of the alternate games that's in it is Galaga, and it's easily the one I play the second most after the primary game that came with it. This episode's got me jonesing to fire up Becky and play some arcade this afternoon. I love it. And then, like, any of you that have played Galaga, one of the cool things about it is there's these 4 big enemy ships that'll come down to the bottom, and they will come down, and instead of trying to shoot your ship, they'll try to beam your ship up and capture it. And if they capture it, you lose a life, and they go back up to the top of the screen with your ship above it. But then if you can take out that ship without accidentally hitting your own ship above it with one of your beams, then that ship comes back down, reattaches to the one you're using, and then you've got a double wide ship that shoots twice, and it's fucking awesome. Oh my God. Galaga is so basic. I think kids today would think it's boring as fuck. I love it. Easily one of my favorite arcade games of all time. I would love a Galaga cabinet. I don't really need one now that I have it on this, but I love Galaga. Galaga's so good. Number 5 on my list for the longest. In fact, I'm going to look it up right now before I tell you what it is. Is there an arcade 1-up cabinet for this? I almost said it out loud, but I don't want to spoil it before the music plays. I'm pretty sure there is. Yeah, there is. So until I played NBA Jam, this was my number 1 most wanted arcade 1-up cabinet. And truth be told, it probably still is a top 2 or 3 arcade 1-up cabinet that I really want to get my hands on. No one ever talks about this game, and it pisses me off because it is an all-time classic, and people need to put more respect on its fucking name. Number 5 on my list of my 10 favorite arcade games of all time. Oh, even that music, baby. It's Burger Time. Burger Time. Why do people not show Burger Time any fucking respect? Everyone talks about because I don't want to spoil what's on this list, but everybody talks about the other games that are on my list in the top 4. Nobody puts any fucking respect on Burger Time's name. Burger Time is so much fun. If you've never played it, it's like a classic single screen high score video game where you control this little chef, and at the bottom of the screen, there's a bunch of the bottoms of hamburger buns, and then stacked above them, there's like all the ingredients. There's like lettuce and hamburger patty and cheese and that kind of stuff. And then at the top, there's the top of a hamburger bun. And the screen kind of looks like the last level of Donkey Kong, where you're running across girders and climbing up ladders. And then there's all these other food products like eggs and sausages and stuff chasing you around. And if they touch you, they hurt you. And you have to run around this maze and walk across the ingredients to make them fall to the bottom of the screen to form a complete hamburger. And if you capture any of the enemies in a falling piece of burger that you ran across, then they take them out for extra points, and you can pick up pepper shakers that you can shoot at the enemies enemies to stop them from getting to you. And it's just, God damn it, people should need to put more respect on Burger Time's name. I love Burger Time. It is oh my God. If it wasn't for nostalgia, Burger Time would be number 3 on my list instead of number 5. Of the 4 games that are ahead of it, I genuinely think 2 are better. And 2 of them, I don't know if I think they're better or not, but I just have so much nostalgia for them. I haven't played Burger Time very much on cabinets. The other 2 are more nostalgia picks. But oh my God, I fucking love Burger Time. So much fun. If you've never played it, look it up. It is such a good fucking game. I love playing Burger Time. Matthew wrote in and said, so many to choose from. I'm 45, so arcades were at the peak of popularity when I was growing up. Since I have to pick one, thank you for playing by the rules, Matthew, it has to be Rampage. My dad would play 2-player on that game and just destroy cities. It wasn't complicated, but it was a blast. I'm waiting for the day someone does a remake of that game. You know, a few of you wrote in about Rampage. I know this is going to probably upset some of you. I don't think I've ever played Rampage. I know of it. That's the one where you play as like, I don't know if it's actually King Kong or if it's just like a knockoff, but you play as like the giant gorilla, the giant lizard, and the giant like rat thing. And you just destroy cities to get points, right? Rampage looks fun. I honestly don't know if I've ever played it. I'm racking my brain. I can see it. I remember seeing ads for it in like Archie comics and stuff when I was a kid, but I don't know if I've ever played Rampage. I'm going to have to. It looks like fun. I'm going to have to play Rampage. I don't think I ever have. Fallen Snow Kiku wrote in and said, dude, Crazy Taxi might be my favorite arcade game of all time. There's something special about driving people to KFC or Tower Records while the Offspring blares over the speakers. I played the shit out of it when I was younger, and the cabinet they set up at a convention I went to last year. If they had an arcade perfect port, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. And yes, I saw the trailer for the new one they're making, and I'm hoping it lives up to the name. I have talked about this before. I've never played Crazy Taxi. It's one of those games that I'm desperate to play. I actually have it on my Steam Deck because it was part of the Dreamcast collection I bought to play Jet Set Radio a long time ago, and I just haven't got around to it. I have played Simpsons Road Rage, which, if I'm not mistaken, is like a blatant ripoff of Crazy Taxi, but everyone says Crazy Taxi is better. I've even seen that cabinet, and I've just never played it, and I have to fix that. Man, I want to be Team Crazy Taxi. I got to play that game. So shout out to Crazy Taxi. Fuck yeah. Okay, now we're into the top 4, and everyone listening is going to know all 4 of these games, and all 4 of these are bona fide classics, and frankly, it hurt my heart a little bit to have to rank them, but that's what you do on a ranking episode. You break some eggs, and you break some hearts, and you break some legs, you break some thumbs, and you break, you make a ranking. Shut the fuck up. Number 4 on my list of my top 10 favorite arcade games of all time. Everybody knows that, right? If by some chance you don't, that's Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong. I was torn on Donkey Kong because I knew it would be on my list. I think Donkey Kong is one of the greatest arcade games of all time. And if Nintendo could just fucking, I don't know if the term is pocket their pride. I don't know why they haven't partnered with Arcade 1-Up to release a Donkey Kong cabinet. Maybe they just want too much money. I can't fathom that Arcade 1-Up hasn't reached out to them about making a Donkey Kong cabinet, and maybe Nintendo just wants too much money to license it. I don't know. Truth be told, if Arcade 1-Up released like a nice, good quality Donkey Kong cabinet, especially if it came with like Donkey Kong Jr. and Donkey Kong 3 and stuff, I would pay a lot of money for that cabinet. It's Makeshift Money wrote in and said, still Donkey Kong, the slick cabinet, the bright screen, the simple yet challenging game, and the Nintendo charm oozing out of every nook and cranny. Honorable mention to Popeye for the same above reasons. Yeah, can anyone not picture that first level in Donkey Kong with the pink and blue and like the construction girders that you're climbing up to avoid the barrels to get up there to get to Paulina? Like, it's not like I was trying to figure out like where am I ranking it this high because I love it? Am I ranking it this high because it's like one of the most important games ever for the sake of Nintendo and everything like that? And I don't know, but at the end of the day, I just really enjoy playing it. To this day, I could pick up like an NES controller or something and play a game of Donkey Kong and have a great fucking time. I love that game. And there's nothing more satisfying than when you gamble on whether or not a barrel's going to come down a ladder and you climb up it and you're like, go past. And it goes past and you're, oh, buddy. That's good shit. And then in the second level, dodging those fucking springs at the top, especially as it gets later on, and they get just flying, and you've got like no room of it, like no window for error when you have to get to that top and get past those springs bouncing over your head. I love the original Donkey Kong. Fuck to this. It was on that 31-1 game when we were kids too. But I've played it in arcades. I've played it on Nintendo. I've played it everywhere I can fucking play it. I love Donkey Kong. So number 4 on my list, and I really wanted to put it higher, but I think 2 of the games ahead of it are better, and 1 I'm just too nostalgic for. So number 4 on the list is Donkey Kong. High Plains Drifter said, if I have to pick one, it's the original Mario Brothers game for the arcade. So many memories at the local mom and pop burger joint with friends. So many quarters and memories. Damn, I'm an old, wrinkly, Quickie Mart hot dog. You know what's funny? I really, if you've never played it, the original Mario Brothers, prior to Super Mario Brothers, is the one where you're on the single screen with the construction girders or whatever they are. I don't know if they're construction girders, but like the platforms, and there's 2 pipes at the top of the level, and like turtles. I don't think they're Koopa Troopas yet, but turtles, those angry crab things with the triangle eyes, those fucking flies that jump up and down that make you crazy. They're coming out of the pipes and working their way down to the bottom of the screen where they go in another pipe and then go back up to the top and come out again. And you control Mario or Luigi, and you have to hit the ground underneath the enemy while they're on it, which will flip them over. And then before they get up and get angry, because when they get up, they're angry and they're running around faster, you have to climb up there and kick them off just walk into them while they're upside down and you'll kill them. And yeah, it's a really fun game, and I've never played the arcade version of it. Never. I've played it on the NES like a motherfucker. It was on that 31-1 cartridge too, but I've never played it on an actual arcade cabinet. I would love to. I don't know if I've ever even seen one of those cabinets. I would love to get my hands on it. Like, fuck, Nintendo could license like some of those games, that Donkey Kong, the other Donkey Kong games, maybe even Punch-Out, to like arcade one up, and they could sell that cabinet for $1,500. And I know it's ridiculous, but people would buy it. I don't know if I could spend that much, but people would buy it. Man, oh man. Yeah, shout out to Mario Brothers. We're into my top 3, and I bet you if you think about it for a second, most of you can name the top 3. Maybe not in order, but you can name the top 3. Let's get into it. Number 3 on my list of my 10 favorite arcade games of all time. That's all the music, unless you go to that like that little song that comes from the cutscenes. It's Pac-Man. It's the original Pac-Man. I fucking love Pac-Man. In fact, I also love a variant of Pac-Man, which many of you know, longtime listeners, that's coming up a little bit later in this list, and there's only 2 spots left. But if I'm not mistaken, people sometimes ask, like, where'd you start? What's the first game? And my earliest memories of playing video games are playing Super Mario Brothers on my NES and playing Pac-Man. And I don't remember where. I want to say it was in Nova Scotia, because I want to say it was near the water, near the ocean. But I remember my mom helping me get up onto like a stool to play the original Pac-Man, and I'm sure I was really bad at it, but I just thought it was so cool. And to this day, dude, I used to draw the Pac-Man maze all the time. I've made Pac-Man board games when I was a kid. We owned Pac-Man, the NES, the Tengen cartridge, the black NES cartridge, and I used to play Pac-Man. Like, I used to be a pretty good Pac-Man player. If you play it a lot, you know the 4 ghosts actually have some strategy to them. They're not just randomly running around. Red goes right after you. Pink and blue both kind of try to cut you off. Blue comes after you pretty aggressively too. Pink will always try to cut you off, and orange just kind of does whatever the fuck he wants until he's close to you. I know their name. I know they have names. What is it? Inky, Pinky, Blinky, and Clyde, I think. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Pac-Man. I think it's one of the greatest video games ever made, because I think it's one of those games. It's like Tetris. Anybody can walk by. You can walk by and see a Burger Time or see even a Donkey Kong, and I think some people would be intimidated by it. Pac-Man, it's literally just you and a control stick or a D-pad, and all you got to do is eat all the dots and not get touched by one of those ghosts. That's it. It doesn't get any more basic than that. And I'm a huge fan of Pac-Man. I love those games. I bought the Lego set of that one, and I would love to get my hands on a Pac-Man arcade one-up cabinet someday, just to put beside my other arcade cabinet. Everybody knows what number 1 is, because I love Pac-Man. I could play Pac-Man for days. And like, I know it's funny because some people look at me like that's boring, but like sometimes I'll go for a high score. Sometimes I'll play just to see how many levels I can beat. I've always wanted to do an episode of Remember the Game about Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. My concern is just I don't know how long of episode that would be. But I love those games too much to not do them eventually. So that was number 3. Before we get to top 2, a couple more comments here. Adam Blank's Pornhub subscription. I don't pay for porn. Wrote it's only a fool pays for porn. But my Pornhub subscription. Can you subscribe to Pornhub? Anyways, said, a bitch loves skee-ball, but if we're talking games, it's Hydro Thunder for me. I love skee-ball too. It's Hydro Thunder for me. The game was tough for kids. It's still fun and even competitive as an adult. Hell, I'm glad nobody tried to turn that game into a AAA console deal because frankly, it's right where it belongs, immortalized. I have never played Hydro Thunder. I don't think. I'm gonna look that shit up right now. Hydro Thunder. I have never played that game before. I don't usually play those ones where you got to like sit down and use the steering wheel outside of that Mario Kart cabinet though. That looks neat though. That looks like I was going to say it looks like a Sega game, but released for the Sega Dreamcast. I was going to say that looks like a Sega game. All right, yeah. A lot of you wrote in about Hydro Thunder, so shout out to all of you that wrote in about Hydro Thunder. And another game that a lot of people wrote in about, Chris Cantrell said, when I saw this topic suggested, I thought it was perfect. The game that ate my quarters the most as a child was Super Off-Road. There was a wide variety of tracks, upgrades, and even a 3-person multiplayer. There's a local retro arcade near me, and I always seem to gravitate toward that game now as an adult. So yeah, and a lot of you wrote in about Super Off-Road as well. I can't say as I've ever played Super Off-Road. Holy shit, 3 steering wheels? What? You can, I've played this on the NES, I think. Didn't they port this? Super Nintendo, yeah. I've played this on the Super Nintendo before, but I've never played this in an actual arcade cabinet. What? I'm looking at the cabinet right now, and there's like 3 different steering wheels side by side by side. So it'd be so easy to reach over and fart around with your opponent's steering wheels and shit. That looks like fun. All right, yeah, shout out to Super Off-Road. A lot of you wrote in about it too, so shout out to Super Off-Road. Okay, we got to wrap this thing up. This is going long. Number 2, the runner-up for my favorite arcade game of all time. Many of you know what it is. Many of you wrote in about it. I don't even want to talk. I just want to listen to the music. Of course. It's TMNT Turtles in Time. Now, here's the thing. A lot of you wrote in about the original Ninja Turtles arcade game, which is also great. That's the one that starts off in the first level where you're in the apartment building and it's on fire. Also great, but especially revisiting the 2 arcade versions of them on the Cowabunga collection, Turtles in Time is just a better game in every way. It looks better. I think it's more fun to play. I think the levels have more variety. I don't think it's quite as frustratingly difficult as the original arcade game was. And I love Turtles in Time. I just I don't even know what else there is for me to say. To this day, if we go to like an adult arcade, this is one of the first games I'm looking for, and bet your ass we're playing it. And I'm always getting Donatello. I'll go little kid. Either you let me play as Donatello or I'm not fucking playing. I'm always going to get Donnie. I mean, usually I do, because he gets no fucking respect from the bastards out there who love Mikey, Leo, and Raph, even though you all fucking know that without Donnie, they'd all be dead 1 billion times over. It's horseshit. Love that game. God, the Big Apple, 3 a.m. I fucking love Turtles in Time. Standard Ass Brian said, how could you go wrong with Turtles in Time? This is the only arcade game I've ever beat, and the only time I did it was as a kid at Chuck E. Cheese, and having a random assortment of teammates help me get through the game. The thing is like, I genuinely prefer the Super Nintendo port, just because it's not designed to kill you over and over and over again like the arcade cabinet is, but there is something about that arcade version, especially playing at 4 players, and you know going in that you're going to get killed over and over again. Chuck E. Cheese was good times, and yeah, both the Turtles cabinets. Mwah. 2 of the best beat 'em ups of all time. But Turtles in Time for me is always going to be number 1. I love that game so much. So that's my favorite arcade beat 'em up of all time. A couple more before we get into my number 1 pick here. TBO Castlevaniac said the arcade version of Double Dragon will always be special to me as it is the first game I ever played. Side-scrolling beat-em-ups are the best on arcade. We lost so much money playing beat-em-up games, hitting each other over and over and over after getting accidentally hit by friendly fire. That's good shit. You know, I've talked about this before. I haven't really played a lot of Double Dragon. So we've never covered it on the show. But you know what I think of when I think of Double Dragon arcade is the Wizard. And that fucking Timmy kid. Or whatever, Jimmy or Timmy or whatever the fuck that kid's name was. Billy? Fuck was that kid's name now? Anyway, and that fucking kid is like the little prodigy and he just goes in and destroys Double Dragon like the first time he plays it. I would really like to get to Double Dragon in 2024 on the show. I've just never played any of them really for any length of time. And of course I know them. I don't know why they just never really crossed paths. I don't know. It's weird. And shout out to Maya Buttreeks with my favorite comment of the week. My dinner with Andre, Larry the Looter, and Escape from Grandma's House. Shout out to anyone that gets that reference. Well fucking done. Well fucking done, Maya Buttreeks. Listen, I could have kept reading comments from you. A whole bunch more of you wrote in, and I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of them, but we're already at an hour here. So let's wrap this thing up with the inevitable, the game everybody fucking knew coming in. If you've been listening to me for any length of time, knew that was going to be number one. It's not just number one of my favorite arcade games of all time. It's one of my all-time favorite video games of all time. It's the only arcade one-up cabinet I own. I named her Becky. She sits in the corner. She's looking at me right now with those big yellow beady eyes. I love that woman so much. Let's do it. Miss Pac-Man. It takes the original Pac-Man and makes it better in every possible way. More boards, more fun, more everything. I love Miss Pac-Man. My ultimate white whale in all walks of life. If I could own one physical possession, it would be an original vintage 4,000 pound Miss Pac-Man arcade cabinet. I settled for an arcade one up, and it's awesome. I play it quite regularly. It has Galaga on it too, which I also love to play. It's a great cabinet. It looks nice, but there's just something about that original cabinet, the charm. What does Homer say on the B Sharps episode? We want to dedicate this next song to a very special lady. She's over 80 feet tall, and she weighs over 200 tons. I probably got those numbers wrong. I haven't seen that episode in a long time. That's how I feel when I discuss like the original Miss Pac-Man cabinet. That blue outer casing just gets me. As soon as I see it, I'm like, Shaylee who? I'm in love with her. It's Miss Pac-Man. My all-time favorite arcade game, and is not even close. Piss out my ass. Said, sorry I'm pairing the two together, but Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man are some of my all-time favorites. The Miss Pac-Man plug and play was the first game I had as a kid, and I played it for ages. And every year as a kid, we went to this rich family's house that had an authentic Pac-Man machine inside. I would spend half the party just glued to that machine. To this day, Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man are the very first thing I look for at any arcade, bowling alley, or movie theater. Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm looking for Ninja Turtles as well, because I want to play with my friends. But that's usually the first place I'm putting some money, is into Pac-Man. It's Miss Pac-Man, and if I can't find her, then it's Pac-Man. One of the greatest video games ever made. Oh my God. You all know how I feel about Miss Pac-Man. And if you're new to the show, now you know I am in love with Miss Pac-Man. And when I grow up, I'm going to marry her. Anyway, that's it. Listen, thank you so much for everybody that wrote in. There was so many comments. I got as many in there as I could. We've been going for over an hour, and I got to go because my car won't start. I got to go figure out what the fuck's wrong with it, piece of shit. So thank you so much, everybody that wrote into the show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you to everyone that voted for this. I appreciate it. And we'll be back, obviously tomorrow with Game Patch, but next week, Expansion Pass 194. Things could change over the next 7 days, but my plan right now is to do our 2024 video game predictions episode and look back on our 2023 predictions and see. I'm not going to go through all the ones I read, but I'll let you know how I did. And I can promise you, probably not very good. All right? Take it easy, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you all on the next one. Cheers. So long. Goodbye.